Hello, welcome. Welcome back to class. Here we are. We're ready to rock and roll. Today we are talking about guidelines to a professional practice. Yes, we're going to be talking about safety. We're going to be talking about hygiene. We're going to be talking about communicable diseases, or, well, transmittable diseases, things that you may need to be concerned about in your treatment room, in your place of work. So, a reminder that our class is in three sections today. Three. The first is a test taking strategy, homework advice. It is really about how, that first part is about how to be a student and being really confident in how you're studying. And then the second part of class is learning, learning, learning. And the third part of class is dissecting questions, questions related to the material that we're going to cover today. So, uh, what I wanted to start with you, first of all, guidelines to a professional practice. We're going to be talking about safety and hygiene and a few other categories. But before we jump into our learning, I wanted to give you a perspective on your studying and a perspective on when the day you take your MBLEx. And my strategy for you that I wanted to share with you today is control what you can control. Yes, control what you can control. What does that mean? Well, you're in control of a lot of things, more so than you think. In fact, some of us spend quite a bit of energy trying to stay in control. Uh, But in this case, I'm talking about your study schedule, and I'm talking about game day. So, your study schedule, you have control over when you study. Look at today. Did you just happen to have Thursday at noon or 11 or 10 or 9, depending on what zip code you're in? Did you just happen to have today available? Oh, let me see if there's something going on that no, you had to put it in your schedule, right? In fact, put in the chat for me where everybody's chiming in from. Yeah, because just what city are you in today? Put that in the chat. Always interested to know who's represented, what time zones are represented here. We have people from all over, every time zone, pretty much. Well, not every, but pretty much everyone in North America. So, controlling what you can control. You made an appointment with yourself to be here right now. You put it in your calendar and you have an electronic calendar, right? And I'm doing this for the phone, electronic calendar. But maybe some of you also have a paper calendar. I like to use both. I like to get visually. Rob says he's in the cornfields of Southern Illinois. Hey. Uh, I like to use a paper calendar as well as an electronic calendar to see, like, get a perspective on my week, get a perspective on my month. That is me controlling my schedule. Yeah. So there are the anchors in the schedule that go in. They're already in there. Maybe you have a part-time job or a full-time job and you get a schedule from them. Maybe you pick your kids up from school. That happens at the same time, right? Yeah. So those things go into your schedule. You are controlling, making sure that you are on time. Yeah. And so with your study schedule, you are actually in control of that. You are. I know. Seems like it needs to have to fit around making dinner or exercise or other job. Yeah. Sometimes that does happen, where there are things that, you get given your schedule. Hopefully that schedule stays the same and it becomes predictable. but so does your studying. So does your studying. It can become very predictable. Now, I have to admit, I exercise at different times of the day. Some days I do morning, some days I do afternoon, but I schedule it into my week. There are those people who, God bless them, it's every morning they go and exercise. Good for them. Yeah. But this is an example of controlling your schedule. Because guess what? If you are not in control of your schedule, someone else is. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it, look, we have massage school graduates. We have massage grads, as I like to call you guys, uh, who have special needs children. That's a big responsibility, right? And yet, we can only show up for others if we first show up for ourselves. So, controlling what you can control. And also know that there's an old saying that says, we plan and God laughs. So some things go kind of cuckoo, but that's okay. I want to relate this, being in charge of your schedule to also your game day, the day you take the MBLEx. You are in charge. You are in charge of this appointment. You've paid the money. You've registered and gotten your authorization to test. You have picked a date. This is something that you are in charge of. And so understanding what's expected of you on game day, the day you take the MBLEx, is also very important. And you've read, maybe you remember from the first time you took it, and that is you need to be there at least a minimum of 30 minutes early. And you're not going to be bringing anything into the testing room with you, no phones, um, no pen, none of that. But what's more important to me than, well, what's equally as important to me is that you control what you can control the 48 hours, the week before, the day before you test. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you sleeping? How are you getting to the testing center? Do you have a reliable vehicle? Do you have a reliable friend? These are things you're in charge of. And I mean, for example, we have students who are in the US Virgin Islands, so in the Caribbean. And the testing center is in St. Thomas on that island. If they live in St. John, another island, they have to fly over to St. Thomas or take the ferry to go to the testing center. Many of you live far away from the nearest Pearson View Testing Center and are driving the day before, staying overnight, being prepared to be on time. Those are examples I wanted to share with you today of controlling what you can control, being in charge of the environment that impacts your nervous system. So if you know that friend of yours who's driving you is crazy and has drama, whoop, no, remove them from the equation. If it's a family member, whoop, remove them from the equation. We are creating an environment where you regulate your nervous system. You are calm, you are grounded, you are intentional. Yeah. And you are in charge. You are in control of that. So, looking at the day you take the test, the day you take your MBLEx, or simply looking at your study schedule, You are controlling what you can control, knowing that you are in charge of your environment in the study sessions and in the time leading up to and after you take your MBLEx. So you're now in charge. You have permission. I am giving you permission to control that. Yes, excellent. Moving into our learning. Welcome to Guidelines for Professional Practice. Yeah, this is going to, oh, well, yes. Wait a minute. Guidelines to a professional practice. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about disease, bacteria, viruses, funguses. Oh my. Did we cover this in massage school? Maybe. I think they probably talked about sanitary practices, best sanitary practices, but we're going to review that today. Here's what could be on your MBLEx. It's 15 questions. Take a peek. This is from the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, the FSMTB. This is from their content outline. So what is going to be on your test? The proper and safe use of equipment, practitioner hygiene, all of these things about cleanliness. You could be asked about draping, business practices. And then we do a whole separate class on medical terminology, so healthcare or and business terminology. We're going to talk a little bit about it today as far as business terminology, but you are responsible to know the definitions of some of these words. They may be new to you. We'll cover a few today. Let's start. Here's an overview of some of the vocabulary. Miss Tara has made this list available for you, and you can use it as a worksheet and write out the definitions if you see something in here that doesn't make sense. Uh, yeah, and some of these, again, we're going to be covering today. Lovely little list here. And if you see words again that just don't look familiar or you couldn't explain in your own words, that's when you want to go to the definition. You want to go look up the definition. So, can you explain in your own words self-employed? Probably, right? Can you explain in your own words the difference between professional liability insurance and general liability insurance? Are you familiar? If you got that question on the MBLEx, would you be able to distinguish? Okay, that's what the list of vocab words are for. Here are some vocabulary related to sanitation and disease prevention. Yeah, and some of you have seen questions on the MBLEx that say, what is the difference between an antiseptic and um, what type of cleaning fluid do you use? We don't actually know the exact questions. Antibacterial versus antiseptic. What is disinfectant is another word that's right here. Which seems stronger, the disinfectant or the antiseptic? Well, yeah. So these are the types of things that you're going to want to look at. Um, yeah. So a disinfectant is where you would be where it would be a little bit more broad-based. And a few more. Excellent. And again, if you can't explain these words in your own words, then take a little time to go ahead and look at the definition. You probably won't see phenols, protozoa, quats, vector transmission, that type of stuff on the MBLEx. Those are a little bit more um, advanced. But they are in the massage school curriculum that you've at least been exposed to these words. Words like lice and mites. Yeah. Let's start with a little practitioner hygiene. All right. She is not ready to do a massage. Okay. What are the considerations for practitioner hygiene? Well, first of all, what you're wearing, certainly. It is always a good idea to have a clean shirt available for you, a clean shirt in the car, clean shirt in your treatment room, just in case. Just in case. So sometimes you'll use oil or uh, some type of cream that might stain. Want to make sure that you're looking good. So take into consideration, what does your breath smell like? Hmm? What does your breath smell like? Look, you're going to be like, and when you do that occipital hold with a client, you're kind of sharing some air. Do you floss? Hey guys, hey gals, this is oral hygiene, brushing the teeth and flossing. I think my brother, when he was, oh golly, he had already had a child at that point. So he was well over 25, probably closer to 30, when he went to the dentist and he had a cavity. And he was so surprised he'd never had a cavity. And the dentist told him, "Do you ever floss?" And he said, "No." Figured it was a waste of time. I brush my teeth, but I don't floss. Ladies and gentlemen, proper oral hygiene to keep your breath fresh is to brush and to floss. So figure it out. And if you don't see a dentist twice a year, start incorporating that into your practice, into your self-care practice. Look, oral hygiene is important. We all grow up with different customs, different traditions, different backgrounds. It's all good. It's all good. As a massage therapist, I am explaining to you that oral hygiene is important to create a comfortable space for your client. Okay, deodorant. These are things I've talked about with colleagues, with staff members, people who work with me. Do you wear deodorant? Now, many massage therapists want to go all natural. I don't want to put any of those chemicals on my body. Okay, don't. But use a natural deodorant. Use something that is going to help because when you get busy with clients and you're seeing your third or your fourth client of the day, your body temperature could rise. During a session, your body temperature could get warm. And so know the difference between deodorant and antiperspirant. Deodorant, odor, gets rid of the odor. Antiperspirant, anti-perspiration. So it eliminates sweat lines. I recommend deodorant, antiperspirant. If that's something that you're fond of, just read up on it. Make sure that as you're applying it to those areas where you have lymph nodes, that whatever is in your antiperspirant is healthy, that it doesn't have aluminum. Yeah. Shoes, again, massage therapists love to go without shoes. I am one of those therapists who find every now and then I'll kick off my shoes during a session, but wear shoes to greet your client. Wear shoes on that first session. Yeah, it's just more professional. Sorry. Yeah, I know. Look, there's a great story, and it was told by, I want to say it was Zig Ziglar. Yeah. Uh, Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was a personal, motivational public speaker named Zig Ziglar. Look him up sometime. It's good stuff. And he tells a story about going into a restaurant, and his server had a piercing, tongue piercing, cheek piercing, nose piercing, whatever, had a facial piercing. Now, granted, it's 40 years ago. And Zig said, "Hey, that's such an interesting piece of jewelry you're wearing. Tell me the story." "Oh, I'm an artist," the server said. "I'm actually an artist. And I really believe in my freedom of expression." Zig said, "Wonderful. I totally agree. And Zig went on to say, I, if I was serving in the military, I would go to war. I would defend your right to express yourself for that freedom. He said, however, I'd think twice about hiring you. What? What an insult, right? Actually, not really. Here's why. Look, lots of people have facial piercings now. And the shock of a facial piercing has really gone way down. But I tell you the truth, it does make a first impression, right? Let's take something super simple like tattoos. Do you have a sleeve? Yeah. Do you have a visible tattoo? Now, again, the stigma of tattoos, or the shock of tattoos, I mean, has really kind of gone by. But it is part of the first impression if you have a visible tattoo. I remember I went and met a massage therapist and she had a tattoo right down the front of her neck. And I thought, ooh, that's an interesting choice. Cool, but it does make an impression, correct? And so, what I'm explaining is you can be intentional about your first impression. Yeah, you can be on purpose about your first impression. Think about going for a job interview. You're not going to show up looking like this, right? Like this image. Intentional, whether it's practitioner hygiene or your attire, we are intentional. Let's look at a few words and point out the differences in these words. So, disease. Today we're talking about safety, hygiene. So, the simple definition of a disease is an abnormal condition in the body that affects either the structure or the function. And there's usually some specific like signs or symptoms. Yeah, some specific signs or symptoms that are affecting a person. That's how they know they have some type of dis-ease. Look at this word. If we were to put a line right down the middle there, it says dis-ease. And so disease is some type of dis-ease in the body. So what causes disease? All right. According to materialistic science, our traditional science, it can be caused by genetic factors. So something in the genes. In this slide, it says errors, but to be honest, I don't believe there are errors in our body. I think there are conditions. So I'll fix that on our next go around. But genetic challenges, infections can cause disease, environmental factors can cause disease, and materialistic science is also learning that stress plays a big part in disease. Let's take a look at the difference between a virus and bacteria. And both of these you will encounter as a massage therapist, both viruses and bacteria. So, a virus that could lead to signs or symptoms is the common cold, herpes simplex, those are viruses, H1N1, COVID, those are viruses. Yeah, compared to bacteria. So, sometimes disease or a pathology will be caused by a bacteria, a little microorganism. So bacteria that causes disease could be staph infection, strep throat. Now, these are understanding what you might be exposed to in the treatment room. Okay. You also might be exposed to funguses. Yes. Welcome to our world, the world of bodies. So, what are funguses that you could be exposed to? There's one group in particular, and that's called the tinea group, the TINEA group. and it's more commonly known as ringworm, athlete's foot, jock itch, and some different scalp conditions. Uh, and we'll see some examples of those. But these are things that people can live with, the types of funguses. You'll see toenails that are pretty thick. This is a fungus. This can be treated. In fact, if you yourself are dealing with a thickening toenail or a wonky toenail, look at tea tree oil. Tea tree oil and just putting tea tree oil on once or twice a day, it will help to mitigate, to lessen the effect of that fungus on your toenail. And there's different treatments for all of these things. We'll talk about that momentarily. Let's keep this simple. A virus is a simple microorganism, sometimes called a germ, that infects a cell. The virus in and of itself doesn't replicate until it hits a cell. They have a host cell compared to bacteria. And bacteria are a single-celled organism. They can live independently or in little groups. And a bacterial infection is caused by bacteria, whereas a viral infection is an illness caused by a virus. So again, host cell. Now, the reason I want to make the difference, it seems like, who cares, Jodi, right? It's either bacteria, you're infected, right? It's either bacteria or a virus. Well, what matters is how you treat it. Because with the bacterial infection, you can be treated with antibiotics. So antibiotics don't work on viruses. Now, during the COVID outbreak, there were many patients, many people who caught COVID, who went to their doctor or called their doctor and said, I need antibiotics. COVID is a virus. Antibiotics treat a bacterial infection, not a viral infection. Antibiotics target bacteria. Viruses are not cells. They're much smaller than a cell, but they can impact that host cell. So the purpose here is for you to understand that antibiotics don't treat a virus. They treat a bacterial infection. Now, since antibiotics don't treat a virus, and we may be exposed to bacteria and viruses, what is the very best way to avoid either the bacteria or the virus entering your system? Drink orange juice, stay hydrated, vitamin C. Let's look at the question again. What is the best way to avoid bacteria and viruses entering your system? I'll give you a minute. What do you think? Let me look in the chat. I saw we had a bunch of chats. Welcome, Catherine from Scranton, John Robert in the Chicago suburbs, Sarah in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Shireen's in the house in Mount Vernon, 11 a.m. in Mount Vernon. Alicia's in New Jersey. Bria Cherie's in the Virgin Islands. Rob's in Southern Illinois. Yep. Oh, there we go. Thank you. I see. I just saw it in the chat. Where did you go? There we go. John Eek. John Eek, yes. Yes. Stay clean. John Robert, how would you stay clean? Yes. Migdalia's coming in from Florida. What is the best way for you? I'm staying here because this is that important. We just, a few years ago, came through a pandemic. And you know the people who didn't get COVID were not the lucky ones. There was something that all of them had in common. It was a behavior that they had in common? Yes, John Robert, you got it. And that would be, ooh, let's see. Yes. And how do we keep ourselves clean? So we just did a massage. We've been all up in this body, you know. There's no sink, no sink in our treatment room. We tell the client the session is done. What is the first thing you do after the session is done? Boom, you wash your hands. This is sanitary hand washing is the best way to keep bacteria and viruses from entering your body. And this is not just after your massage session. It is after using the bathroom. It is before you go into your massage treatment room. This is the best way of avoiding spreading any bacteria or viruses. So, what are the 5 steps? Wet your hands with either warm or cold water, turn off the tap, and apply soap. Now, in the past, we've had questions like, what's the third step of sanitary hand washing? You're not going to get that type of a question on the MBLEx. You're going to be asked which of these either doesn't fit or is an essential part of sanitary hand washing. So it can be cold water, it can be warm water, but turn on the water, wet your hands, turn off the water, apply the soap. Lather your hands. Lather your hands by rubbing them together. Lather the back of your hands between your fingers. If you've got a fingernail brush, get under your nails. And you are going to lather for at least 20 seconds. At least 20 seconds. Yeah. So one verse of Happy Birthday. I'm humming. Boom. 20 seconds is a little longer than you think. Yeah. So get right on in there. And if you've used your forearms, if you've used your elbow, yeah, go ahead, wash your forearms, wash your elbows. Yes. Next, rinse your hands. So turn on the water, rinse your hands well under cleaning water. Dry your hands using a clean towel or an air dryer. And some have asked me, do you use a paper towel to turn off the handle? Technically, that's not in the CDC's um, guide, but it is the best practice. If you have paper towels, around, uh, then you can use paper towels to turn off the water. You can use it to use the door handle. Those are all part of a nice, that is nice. All right. These are our 5 steps. Now we're going to move to cleanliness in the treatment room. So cleanliness in the treatment room. You may want to have a checklist. This is just a lovely way to not have to think. If you share your treatment room, if you work, say, for a franchise, a Hand and Stone, a Massage Lux, a Massage Envy, how do you wrap up your shift? How do you clean that treatment room? There's a lot of different steps. Consider having a checklist. And even if you work alone, it's lovely to have a checklist. Here are some questions I wanted to share with you about just your considerations because your practice is going to be yours. I mean, we all do things a little bit differently. Some people put a pillowcase over their bolster. Some people just use the bolster. Now, don't put a bolster, an uncovered bolster, next to skin. So you want to put that bolster under the bottom sheet, right? But some people do it differently. Some people put a pillowcase on there. and just put it under their knees directly. These are different things. So I wanted to ask you today, what's one thing about a massage room that makes the space feel inviting and comfortable to you? What's something that when you go and get a massage, what do you love about a treatment room? Like, oh, it's one of my favorite things. I do love warm towels. I don't offer warm towels right now. I will come the cold seasons. Some people offer them year round. Yeah. All right. Shireen says atmosphere. Good. What creates the atmosphere? So take a look at the next question. What are some factors related to ventilation and aromas to consider when planning your space? Now, I'll tell you, people have very strong opinions about this. They have differing opinions. Yep. Ooh, Bria says clean and tidy. And the scent. I was just going to talk about the aromas, right? The size of the room, says John Robert. Heated blankets, music, soft lighting. I love it. It feels peaceful. All right, I need more, Shreen. What makes it feel peaceful? Chanique says the lighting, the diffusers. Ooh, Sarah loves a heated table. Yeah, I'll give you a thumbs up on that one too. Um, lighting is low. No fans. Nice music. I like it. Good. Good, good, good. These are all fantastic, you guys. Yes. And so now there are people who love a fan in a treatment room. It's not very pleasant to have a fan blowing on you when you're on the massage table. Maybe you, as the massage therapist, need it, but does the client like it? Mm. Oh, I love all those ideas that you just shared. Oh, it makes me want to go get a massage. Soft lighting. Good, 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 good. I want to get down here. Good. Cleanliness. That's something I can measure, right? Shireen? Good. Migdalia says clean, music, good sense. Now, here's the challenge with smells and ventilation. Shireen says the floor looks clean. Oh, now we're getting it. Yep, exactly. So that you see that there are things that you don't talk about, but that makes a room feel cozy, comfortable, inviting. So pretty much we were like lower lights. I'll tell you, if the lights are too low, it annoys me. Just me. I don't want the lights too high, but I don't want the lights too low. All of a sudden I'm Goldilocks, right? So yeah, the high, yeah. Mm. Yeah, so all of these things are intentional. I'm 50-50 on a scent. Personally, I don't do scents in the treatment room. I don't wear perfume. I don't use hairspray. Um, I don't light a scented candle. I like it to just be a clean smelling room, whatever that sounds like. I do use a scented uh, agent to clean, a antibacterial agent to clean. Let's see. Good. Sarah says not too cluttered. Yeah, Rob says no scent unless I request it. Shireen says you feel safe. Yes. Keisha's like, I like a peppermint scent. It smells clean. Yeah. So again, we're going to need to gauge what smells are present in our treatment room. And we can do that by asking our client. Now, do you use a scented oil? Yeah. Are you doing an aromatherapy session? Another consideration. How are you going to prepare the treatment room for your next client? Hmm. After you've done maybe a menthol treatment, you've used a menthol cream, or you've used peppermint in the oil, or you've used a floral scent, a rose, maybe a lavender. Is that scent going to remain? Are you going to light a candle? Hmm. Your massage instructors told you about this one. What if they have an allergy? What if they walk into your room and they're allergic to lavender? They're allergic to peppermint. Okay. We're going to step out of the room. That's when you need a fan. Let's blow out the candle. Let's blow out the essential oil or turn off the diffuser and just move some clean air through that room. Can you open a window? You got to have a plan B just in case plan A crashes and burns. All right. What is one method for keeping a client warm during a session? And this is even in the summer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe getting a table warmer. Ooh, we got lots here. Yeah. Okay, good. Yes, a heated blanket. Good. Yep. You can use, in fact, buying something at a retail store like a Marshall's or a Bed Bath and Beyond. You could just use a heated blanket. I like to put it under the client. Yeah. So I put it under the client and put down a fitted sheet. They make table warmers that are just the size of your table that are also timed. Very nice. Uh, but if a client is cold, putting more blankets on them isn't going to help. Hmm. Okay. Just looking at our room temperature is comfortable. Good. Good. And Keisha says, she has a table warmer and puts a heated blanket on top if it's really cold outside. And really making sure the table is warm before they get on it is 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 key. The room temperature is comfortable. Yeah. Again, if you're a woman who is perimenopausal, menopausal, or post, you may be having little waves of warmth that go through your body. Is that room temperature comfortable for your client? 68 is not comfortable. Yeah. 72, 74 maybe. Yeah. And likewise, if you crack a window, just make sure the room temperature, it may feel fresh, but remember that client needs to stay warm. And what type of music enhances a session versus causes client distraction or irritation? Uh, you may be a big fan of music with words, music without words. Uh, Check in with your client. Say, what do you think of this music? What do you think? Now, sometimes you can't control the music if you're working in an environment where all the music is chosen for you. But if you go to a home, what music are you bringing? How are you playing that music? Back in the day, we had boom boxes with CDs, baby. Yeah. Now we can stream music, but be intentional. There are times my clients want to listen to reggae. They're not in there to leave, like to go into kind of that alpha state. So they want something upbeat. They want a little, reggae, a little Bob Marley, maybe a little light jazz. Make space for different types of music in your treatment room. Just make sure that it's not distracting. Oh, and rookie mistake. I'll share this with you. Oh, yeah, rookie mistake. I bought a CD of Tibetan chanting. I thought this was going to be fantastic. I couldn't wait. I just thought this was going to be kind of like the monks chanting, right? Like the Gregorian monks that I had heard maybe like kind of in a cathedral and really melodic. Oh, no, 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 no. Tibetan monks chanting sounds like a guttural bullfrog. And I had not listened to the CD before I popped it in. I did an intake with my client, designed the session with her, said, go ahead and you can start face up on the massage table. I pushed play and left the room for 3 minutes. Oh, Lord. Yes, Tara says she had a CD with birds chirping. Some clients are afraid of birds. I walked back into my treatment room with this noise. It sounded like a zombie leaving a swamp. And my client looked at me and said, will we be listening to this music the whole time? Yeah, no, no, we won't be. Yeah. So rookie mistake. So for you, listen to your music before you play it for your client. Moving along, let's get back to some issues of safety. And on the MBLEx, you may be given a scenario that asks you, what's the issue? And we need to have a safe environment, not just for us to feel safe, but really for our clients to feel safe. And what does that look like? Okay, the lights shouldn't be too dim when the client gets on and off the table. And just be aware of that. Are you able to see any local contraindications? Are you able to see if this client has a rash, has a blister, has a wound? If you can't see that, the lights are too low. This is not meant for sleeping, guys and gals. So dimly lit, fine, but so you can see and your client stays safe. Also, consider if you have worked the feet, and feet are one of my favorite things for massage therapy. Go ahead and have uh, a wet wipe, something like a baby wipe, something that will be gentle, not the things you use, not antibacterial that you wipe your table down. Don't use that on your client's feet, but something that is a baby wipe that's safe. You may want to remove the lubricant from your client's feet before they get up. I will be particularly cautious when they are in sandals, when they're in flip-flops. Yeah, because that lubricant on the bottom of their feet can make those flip-flops really slippery. So if you don't want to do that, invite your client. Say, hey, I've got some baby wipes here. I've got some foot wipes here. If you want to take the lubricant off your feet. Uh, and just in moving around the room, no like extension cords that run across walking areas. Make sure your rugs are flat so that people aren't tripping against them. And just pay attention to those things. It's almost like you had a little kid, right? Just pay attention that they wouldn't trip or fall. A reminder that part of your responsibility as a massage therapist is to be trained on the use of any special equipment. So, what special equipment? You'll see on the left-hand side of your screen, cupping. You see in the middle of your screen, hot rocks and cold stones. In the middle of your screen again, you see a hydroculator. Yep, and then you see cupping again. Yes. So, if you are going to perform a session with one of these techniques, you will need to be trained in it. And so this is, yeah, and so it's very easy to take a weekend course in any of these hydroculators. If there's a hydroculator in a heat pad, a moist heat pad is this what's called a hydroculator pack. Uh, if you've got those in your office, just ask the manager, ask your chiropractor, ask your physical therapist, how do you like me to use those? Because those get wrapped in a big foamy pad. They don't go directly on the skin. Yeah. Whereas hot rocks do go directly on the skin. So being trained in that safe use of equipment is essential so that you feel proficient and that your client enjoys their session. Safety is also a part of body mechanics. So the topic of safety also covers body mechanics. Yeah. So body mechanics, we have looked at several different ways. We've looked at them as demonstrations. I want to show you a brief video, but before I do, I want to point out the angles. In many massage schools, body mechanics doesn't really, like, there's no like rules. But guess what? There are rules. If you see yourself being a full-time therapist, and for me, full-time is 16 appointments or more per week, you must practice proper body mechanics. If you do not, There will be parts of your body that are sore and over time could be injured. I am 32 years into being a massage therapist. I still remind myself during massages, and I bet you Tara will tell you this too, remind ourselves during massages to use proper body mechanics. Because there are times where you kind of, oh, I'm tracking a piece of tension and you kind of like get like turned around. If that happens, pause and reset. Reset into your horse stance, reset into your feet, just reset, bring it arms back, just for even just a breath. Reset. So we're going to pause here now, and you're going to see a little video that I love. And play.
Some tips about that. Let's show a little bit of bad body mechanics first. Unfortunately, many massage studios have these really tight rooms with only just enough room to be here with the wall right there. And what that does is when you want to apply pressure, you have to bend at the waist to do it. This is terrible for your body mechanics and basically makes you have to use your arm muscles to do everything. Right, and let me show that from the side. Like imagine there's a wall right there, it's really tight in the room, you have to work like this. And it's all shoulders and arms and hands and forearms. The first fix is that you never want to bend at the waist. You want to try to stack joints in straight lines as much as possible because that's where you're going to get power and strength from. So rather than just bend at the waist, if you can bring one leg back and create a straight line from the back heel up through the head, that already, just that one change is going to create so much more ability to apply force without
You using your shoulder muscles. So nice long line here. Toes are pointing in the direction of your stroke. Yes, or where you're applying, your toes are pointing towards where you're applying the pressure with that nice long line.
using your arm muscles. From here, I can lean in as if I'm doing, a plank and still keep my arm muscles pretty relaxed. From here, if I really have to do that, everything else has to fire. The second tip is in doing that, the amount of pressure that you want to build and apply should not come from your arm, shoulder, wrist. That's just using your muscles. You want to use your body weight. And so from here, if I want more pressure, instead of pushing or pulling or using anything, I can sink into my front knee. And I can use my front knee as a brake. If I want less pressure, I can press into it and come out. If I want more pressure, I can let it go and lean.
This is a key. One of the keys to proper body mechanics is that knee bend. Yes, this is where the power comes from. Please practice this on your next massage. Please practice this even as you're watching it. Maybe you want to stand up and put your hand on the desk or the hand on a chair and just watch by starting with the straight leg and then bending that knee. Oh, how much more pressure you can get.
Forward. And the angle that I'm creating with that back leg and torso is basically equal to the amount of pressure that I want to give. If I want more pressure, I can dip the angle down more. If I want less pressure, I can make it less steep. I can also do that by bringing that back leg forward. So the next thing you want to think about.
So bringing the back leg forward is one way, but straightening the knee, that's also another way. You have both options available for you depending on how much space you have in front of the table or on the side of the table.
Is keeping the joints of the arm as stacked in a straight line as you can.
Pausing one more time, we're talking about stacking joints. This is a question that has been on the MBLEx. Stacking joints, what does that mean? He just drew the line from the wrist to the elbow to the shoulder. They are stacked.
If I bend my elbow, I'm suddenly having to fire all sorts of stabilization muscles in here to keep that pressure solid on the client, and I start to get really shaky. If I can line up my wrist, elbow, and shoulder and actually connect that to my back heel, I could sit here all day. And I'm applying a fair amount of pressure on the client's perspective without working very much at all, because I'm mostly pouring body weight into it, not applying muscular force. I do have to fire some stabilization muscles just to keep this structure, but that's a lot less intense and a lot less hard on your body than it would be here. Here,
Yeah. So that's a bent elbow. And a great way to test that is when you are doing body work, touch your bicep. Is your bicep soft? Is your deltoid soft? Could you get into a position to make it soft? Straight arm. And now back to the elbow that he's demonstrating, the improper use of stacking joints.
I have to stabilize the entire arm. Here, I just have to stabilize a little bit in the shoulder. Cool. Now, that's a decent demonstration, and that already gives you some tips you can easily try to apply on your own. But if you really want to learn a lot more about this, learn how to apply that to all the different tools that you have, whether it's fingers, thumb, soft fist, palm, elbow, we have a one-day workshop. It's here in New York, and it is 6 New York State and NCBDMB credits for massage therapy. We offer those at least once or twice a year, and if you're interested, there's a link in the description below, and we hope to see you there. So many of the therapists I see either coming out of school or working in spas and in small spaces wind up developing pretty bad habits about body mechanics. Hope you had a good time with these tips and that they help you and that you're able to continue doing body work in a really healthy way. Thanks.
And you don't have to go to New York. You absolutely can find a body mechanics class online, on YouTube. You can reach out to Tara and I to help you find one in your state. Often the American Massage Therapy Association from your state will offer body mechanics training um, locally. So those are some great tips and strategies to make sure. Back to our image here. Yep, see that straight line that he drew? Just some stabilizing muscles. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So you can move that back foot or you can bend and straighten that front foot as an option as well. Again, there are sometimes body mechanics questions on the MBLEx. Thank you to this dude. And I'll put the link to that video so you can watch it again in our description. So when we post the class, I'll put that link. Again, lovely, lovely. This is in side lying position. And you'll see same principles apply. She has a shortened stance here. And one of the other things you will want to take a look at is your table height. Do you have an adjustable table? Do you have an electronic table, hydraulic table, or one that adjusts without you unscrewing the legs? Just make sure that table height is set. And normally table height, if it's a stationary table, meaning it's not moving up and down, then you'll want that on the flat part of your wrists or of your hands. So when you're standing beside it, arm down, make a soft fist. These knuckles will touch the top of the table. That's a good starting point, no matter what size your client is. Some clients are big, some clients are small, but if you can adjust your table height during the session or after you're introduced to your clients, then that's a bonus. All right, this dude's demonstrated already. Let's move along to draping. Tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if I have a pet peeve, it's draping. I don't have many. Um, but when I went to massage school, I went because, well, part of what I brought to the table was that I was super modest. I mean, I was not the one who, as a kid, was dancing around, the pool in their bathing suit for whatever reason. And part of what I got from going to massage school was feeling a lot more comfortable with my body. Now, for our clients, we need to be conservative. We need to look at the most conservative clients and think about, okay, how would they feel comfortable? Now, your client may say, oh, I'm from Sweden, and in Europe, we don't care about your silly American modesty. That's okay. I'm the silly American, right? I still want it to be modest for my client. Yes. And so having secure draping creates a safe environment for your client. And these are some lovely examples of appropriate draping. So in this case, this is a diaper drape around the leg. Around the leg, when you're working in this area, the simple rule is no drafts. So no place where the air can get in. So you'll be draping under the same leg you're working at both the inside of the leg and the hip. Many people skip the hip. You'll have two anchor points for a secure drape, one at the hip and one on the inside of the leg that you are draping. Oh, Jodi, my client doesn't care. I don't care because habits of sloppy draping spill over to other clients. Now, in this case, in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that the arms are outside. And this isn't always warm. It can feel a little cold to some clients. So when the arms are on the inside, we can tuck at the lateral part of the arm. So just do a little tuck. It doesn't need to be super secure. You're not going to be wrapping, running that arm around. But just it's just a nice little like tucking in. Remember when you were a kid? I don't know if you ever got tucked in, but if you were going to tuck in a little kid, that's what we're doing on the top when the arms are in. Yes. And be careful of where you're placing your hands. Just be very mindful whether you are above or below the collarbone and that draping is secure when you're working. I love a good décolleté, love working in this above and below the collarbone. People love it. They love it. Going from the sternum out to the acromion, sternum out to the shoulder. They think it's just wonderful to work that area. But we'll need a secure drape. Now, appropriate draping makes a client feel safe. You may have learned this technique about stretching, but take a peek here. Look how this sheet is all tucked in. There's not going to be any slippage of the sheet. It's going to stay secure. And that's what we're looking for in a secure drape. So again, secured that drape under the shoulder here, which allows some movement of the arm. This is an example, in my opinion, of inappropriate draping. Why is it inappropriate? Okay, the only thing securing this drape is the client's hands. They can't move. This is, just seeing this picture annoys me. Yeah, draping is that important, you guys. And we are almost at the gluteal cleft. You can almost see where that gluteal cleft begins. This is too low. If you need to work a glute, then you can do so by securely draping right at that tan line, right at the crest. We say at the crest of the breast and at the crest of the glute is where we drape. And then you secure that drape at the hip. Yes. And very easy way to do that. And some people get like a little nervous about, oh, I don't want to touch the client. I don't want to disrupt the client. You will take that drape with a palm down, press that drape down and under. So you're going to press down on the table and press under the ASIS. That's right about where you want to drape. Yep, right at the S or at that crest of the glute. Because if I want to go work a glute, I'm going to drape differently than this. So don't be lazy. Okay. See there. That's not making this client feel safe. It's not. Oh, she doesn't care. You care. And your next client may care. So let's do this. Let's drape securely, shall we? All right, we're gonna change gears here and move into our scope of practice. Yes, exactly. Shereen says that was too low. Yep. Yep, very good. Gonna move into the scope of practice. Scope of practice simply means what you can do and you can't do as a licensed massage therapist. What are you what are you licensed to do? Hmm? Okay, what is in the scope of your practice? So if we drew a circle and we said, okay, we're gonna put what are we gonna put in the circle? We're gonna put hot rocks in the circle, we're gonna put cupping in the circle. Ooh, nutrition advice. Oop, that doesn't go in the circle. What goes in the circle is our scope of practice. So let's talk about legally what we're allowed to do. So a massage therapist may do any of the following. One, you're allowed to use heat and cold therapy. Helio is the sun therapy, and the external applications of herbal or topical preparations that aren't prescription drugs. So we're seeing, looks like a little herb bundle here. I've also done this with ginger. It's called a ginger fomentation, fomentation. But these are basically herbal or topical preparations. You're allowed to do that if you're trained in it. Good. Hydrotherapy is the use of hot and cold water. So a warm water bottle, an ice bag, another form of hydrotherapy with warm water. Heliotherapy, like I mentioned, is sunlight. And sunlight, uh, some people experience seasonal depression disorders. Uh, and so consider, if that's a population that you are going to be treating, you may want to add a heliolite and heliolite therapy to your office. It is another revenue stream. Yeah, and can help with some skin conditions. Red light therapy is also known to help with skin conditions. But heliotherapy specifically helps with mental health. Oh, and how it works, just in case you're curious, the UV lights help produce vitamin D and other chemicals in the skin. And the father of medicine, Hippocrates, he was the one who said, first do no harm. He practiced heliotherapy. Uh, and so he would advise his clients, and he himself would get some sunlight. And here in the US in 1903, heliotherapy was used after somebody was diagnosed with tuberculosis. But again, that's just kind of the history of heliotherapy. It's been around for a long time. Your parents practiced heliotherapy when they told you, go out and get some fresh air, go out and get some sunshine. Back to scope of practice. Number two, scope of practice. You can analyze posture. You can analyze walking or running. This is called gait analysis. And gait means walking. You're allowed to look at somebody walk down your hall, walk out on the sidewalk to take a look and see if there's anything that you notice. The third and fourth parts of your scope of practice, you can offer your clients education in stress management and self-care. You can cite different research. You can offer your point of view about self-care and stress management. Self-care will include how often to get massages. Number four. And basically, this is the kind of the bucket that says, look, anything you've been trained in or you're certified to do, you can do. Yeah, so the performance of techniques in which the massage therapist has been trained, intended to beneficially affect the systems of the body. That is your scope of practice. So, are we allowed to mm, give our clients their insulin shot? No, we are not. That is out of the scope of practice. You haven't been trained in it. Yeah. Are you allowed to do a gait analysis? Yes, if you're trained in it. And most of you got that training in school. So that is the key. Have you been trained in it? And do you feel comfortable? Scope of practice helps us to understand our limitations as massage therapists. Quite often, you may have noticed this, clients will talk to you on the table. They will tell you things about what's going on with their life. Yeah, we are not a licensed counselor. We are not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And so reflective listening is to be practiced in a treatment room. So what is that reflective listening? When a client shares with us something, say for example, oh man, it's been a really rough day. Um, I just found out that my uncle is being moved to hospice. Now, there's a part of you that might want to tell all your hospice stories. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Say, wow. We turn it back towards the client and we reflect on what the client has just told us. Wow, that sounds like a tough situation. How are you feeling about that? So we make it client centered, right? If a client is going to talk to us about a heavy topic, then we need to understand our grounding. We need to understand boundaries, but that's a lesson in ethics, boundaries, guide, laws, and regulations. So we'll stick to just the reminder that the scope of your practice, you are not a counselor. You are not there to give advice unless you're trained in it. In our last few minutes together learning, let's review some business terminology. This is a part of this category, guidelines to a professional practice, and you'll be able to pause this tape later, rewind it, re-listen to it if these words are new for you. But this is the core of some business terminology, and business terminology definitely comes up on the MBLEx. Yeah. Here's a few vocabulary words for you. Copyright infringement. Copyright infringement is using someone else's words and pretending them that they're your own. So if you use a quote, you have to cite who it is from. You'll notice earlier there was a picture of body mechanics, and in the lower right-hand corner was where that image was from. I didn't make that image, someone else did. So a copyright infringement is when I infringe, right? When I use someone else's words and pretend they're mine. So someone else's words are considered intellectual property. That's our next word here, intellectual property. And that can be writing, it can be artwork, it can be photos, and now and then you'll hear about people who had a copyright infringement on using a famous picture. You've either got to pay for the picture to if you want to use it, or get permission to use it. Otherwise, that intellectual property actually belongs to someone else. And if you use it for yourself, like on your website or even copyright, you hear this all the time. Oh, when you're posting to social media. So on Instagram, you can create a reel and you can add music. All of that music has been given to us because Instagram is paying the artist. The music that is not there, we cannot use. You can use original content, uh, you can use a voiceover, but we have to be very careful about not using music that is not licensed to be used on social media by the public, because that would be a copyright infringement. Now and then, when I post our lessons, YouTube will be like, whoop, red flag, because I'll put music at the end. Well, that music I have purchased. I have bought the license. But they'll be like copyright infringement and they'll flag it. And I have to let them know, oh, here's my license. And within 24 hours, boom, they're fine. They've cleared that copyright restriction. Speaking of social media, what are you posting on social media? Would your future employer be happy to see what you're posting on social media? Did you know that future employers often will Google you to see what comes up? What do you want to come up? What do you want your future clients, your future employers to see on your social media account? Are you shutting down that social media account right now? Yeah, this is viewable to the public unless your social media has been made private. But what's going up? What's available? Have you Googled yourself? Hmm. Now is the time to take a look at that because you actually represent the entire massage profession. Yeah. So again, we're being intentional about what is visible to the public. Business terminology. So social media policy sometimes comes up. Uh, and also, oh, before we move to one other part of the social media policy is, and I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. You can't take pictures of your client while they're on the table. I was doing a cupping session a couple weeks ago, and the client said, oh, would you take a picture? And I'm like, I will with your phone. And she's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I just want to show my husband. If you are requested, you can do it with their phone, but you do not take pictures of clients while they're on your table. No. I mean, if it's a photo shoot and they know they're being photographed, fine. But that would be an invasion of privacy. Yeah. And it probably is breaking some type of HIPAA law too. Move along in our business terminology. We want to look at employees versus independent contractors. Employees have taxes taken out of their check. And at the end of the year, they get an IRS form called a W-2. The W-2 will say how much taxes has been taken out of your check. And so employers, you will either have an employer or a contractor relationship. I'm a big fan of employees, being an employee, because employers, the people who employ you, are required to withhold your taxes. Social Security, Medicare, they're required to match it. It helps a little bit with taxes. And it's all taken care of for you, so you don't have to worry about it come the end of the year or come April 15th. Comparatively, you will be an employee or an independent contractor. So independent contractors work for a flat rate, which is a fixed fee. So a flat rate, a fixed fee. Okay, I'm getting $40 for every massage that I do. So a fixed rate or a percentage of the price of the cost of the massage. So that's an independent contractor, which means that the amount you're being paid could fluctuate. The form that an independent contractor gets at the end of the year, sometime before the 31st of January, is the 1099 form. 1099. That reports year-end summary of all the compensation. So if you got bonuses, if you got tips, it's all going to be on that 1099. When you see that number on the 1099, no taxes have been taken out, but taxes are now due. And independent contractors pay 100% of their own taxes. And finally, the names of business entities. There are different types of entities. And again, you may see this on the MBLEx. So these are things that you are asked to know about the names and what these names represent. So let's look at sole proprietor, first one. This is simply an individual. No state filing, um, no state filing. You're automatically a sole proprietor as soon as you are licensed. Whether you decide to ever give a massage or not, you become a business entity. Very straightforward again, because all of your income gets reported on your tax return. So, sole proprietor, as soon as you are licensed, you're considered a sole proprietor. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You're not filing any forms with the states. Uh, it's just all of that income is going to be on your own tax return. So, having a form of tracking that income is one we can help you with after you pass the MBLEx. There are different types of sole proprietors. We've talked about two. So you can be an employee. You're a sole proprietor. It's attached to your social security number. So sole proprietors can be seeing people at their home, being an employee. As a sole proprietor, you could be an independent contractor, or you could have what's called that blended career, where at one place you're an employee, one place you're an independent contractor, or you're an employee 15 hours a week, but then you do massage and you go to people's homes. That would be as considered an independent contractor, or actually a sole proprietor. So if you have any questions on that, just let me know. They're used somewhat interchangeably, but there's very distinct characteristics for each. Three other business entities I want to mention to you. The partnership, it's easy to form, easy to operate. Um, all partners are liable if something happens uh, regarding taxes for partnerships. This again could be a question on your MBLEx. We've seen it come up. If you're in a partnership, then depending on who owns how much of the business, each partner uses the Schedule K1 to report their share of the income, their share of the losses, their share of the deductions. So K1, mhm, is the Schedule K1 that both partners or all the partners will fill out. If you decide to go into partnership and again, we don't know what you're going to see on the MBLEx. You may be given a scenario that says you went into business with three partners. Okay. So the ownership of this entity is a fixed amount. So if you went into business with three other people, that would be 25% each, unless it's not. If you want to split it equally, then it would be 25% each, right? But what happens if one partner owns more? Well, take a look at this scenario. A woman-owned business is at least 51% owned by a woman. Now, a woman-owned business usually needs to be certified, to be proven that it is a woman-owned business, but there's an advantage to that. There are contracts that are designated that they have to be either a minority owned or a woman owned business. Who knew, right? A minority owned business is 51% or more owned by a minority. So, who are minorities? Well, this week it changes. Latinos, including Puerto Ricans, African American, Asian Americans, all sorts of different people. So, and women. So, a women-owned business and a minority-owned business. Uh, Consider that if you do go into partnership. Could be advantages to have something 51% owner. Next business entity we want to look at. So we've done sole proprietor and we've done partnerships. That's sole proprietor and partnerships. Now we're going to look at LLC. Again, super easy. A lot of sole proprietors form an LLC. It is simply some paperwork you fill out online. And it legally separates your career, your business entity, yourself as a business person from yourself as a personal person. So very simple to do. You can Google it if you wanted to do LLC in Idaho, forming an LLC in Idaho, forming an LLC in New Jersey. Very simple to do. And why would we do that? Well, let's look at the name. Limited liability. By forming an LLC, you limit your personal liability, your personal assets. So if you are married, then you have joint assets. An LLC might be a good thing to do for you as a business entity to protect your personal assets and the joint assets. Just a thought, I am not a lawyer, nor am I an accountant. So I advise that you seek the advice of those trained professionals if you're considering an LLC. Finally, there are some fancy pants businesses that you might be asked about on the MBLEx, and that would be an S Corp or a C Corp. So these are just legal entities, legal names, legal structures that you'll want to just generally know they exist. S Corps, all of the income goes on your personal tax return. So the owners of an S Corp report their share of profit and loss on a personal tax return. C Corp, that is really a corporation. This corporation now has its own identity. It has its federal ID number. It's the most common form of a business organization. It does separate, the personal from the business. But taxes, the C Corp actually files its own tax return based on the employee ID number, the employer ID number, the federal number. So S Corp, S for self, C Corp uh, has stands on its own. As you enter your business world, reminder, you might be required. So your scope of practice, you're ready to start working. It's good to know, do you need a business license? Do you need a sales tax permit? Are you selling stuff in the office? Do you need a zoning permit? Do you need a home occupation permit? Are you working from home, your home? Do you need a home occupation permit or a license? And these are going to differ city to city, county to county, state to state. Once you pass the MBLEx, switch over to alumni support and we'll help you navigate these waters. One final vocabulary word for you, and it's fiduciary. Yeah, fiduciary. This simply means you are acting in the best interest of your clients. Now, we hear this word tossed around sometimes. If you've ever sat on a board, you may have been told, oh, it's your fiduciary duty as a board member to act in the best interest of the organization. Nonprofit, for profit, If you sit on a board, you're acting, your decisions are in, you sign up to be on the board to help that business, to help guide that business. And so for massage therapists, their fiduciary duty is simply to act in the best interest of clients. So very simple, but you may not have heard that word before. Some forms you're familiar with, health intake form, soap notes, consent to treat, informed consent, pregnancy waiver. These are all forms that you're going to need as a practicing massage therapist. And as alumni support, we have resources for you for all these forms. You can use the template or you can customize it, but feel free to ask for any of these. Health intake, soap notes usually go right on the health intake. There's a consent to treat, normally a minor. Watch that on the MBLEx though. Consent to treat, usually for a minor. Who is a minor? Under 18. So be watching for that informed consent. Again, that's usually at the bottom of your intake sheet. I know I'm getting a massage. I give my permission for you to, and we talked about informed consent in the past. We're talking about written informed consent on a form. But if you move into an area you haven't worked in the past with that client, like the glutes, the pectoralis region, the abdomen, you will also want verbal consent. Pregnancy waiver is another form. All right, in summary, best business practices. Make sure that your physical setting is safe. You have liability insurance, professional liability insurance. Maintain your notes, maintain your soap notes. Make sure your clients understand the fees in advance of the session. Understand that that client is, and right now you might be seeing clients uh, for a donation, for a gratuity. Once you are licensed, make sure that the financial arrangements are updated. Yes, and that you do that before the session starts. Follow accepting accounting practices, meaning you track your income, you pay your taxes. Get all your licenses and pay all your taxes and maintain those records, appointment records. And uh, all LMTs need liability insurance, and you can get that through the person who provides your homeowner's insurance. If you need to be directed for professional liability insurance, please just let us know. Massage Magazine offers it, ABMP, AMTA. If you become a member there, they all have it as a part of their package as well. All right, you ready to dissect some questions? Woo-hoo! Home stretch. And because we have different styles of learners in our classroom today, please wait until I say 3, 2, 1, go to put your answer in the chat. If you are driving or operating heavy machinery, do not put answers in the chat. Stay focused on the task at hand. Or watching small children. Ready to go? Let's do it. Performing massage therapy, hydrotherapy, heliotherapy, and other techniques you're trained in is called your blank. A, job description. B, job. C, scope of practice. D, duties. Now, what I love about this question is that literally every answer could be right. You get to pick the best answer. So the way we do that is we eliminate a wrong answer and also good news. The MBLEx is quickly becoming a 3-answer test. Yes. My estimate would be by September that the test will be fully turned over. In fact, we'll ask whoever's taking that test next to report back to us how much. It was about 80% last time of the test is just 3 answers. We'll go ahead and eliminate one wrong answer. It is actually not your job description, right? Not that doesn't cover the whole thing. So, performing massage therapy, hydrotherapy, heliotherapy, and other techniques you're trained in is called your blank. 3, 2, 1, go. Go ahead and put your answers in the chat. All right. Robin, John, Robert, yes. Catherine, Durea, yes. Our best answer, indeed, scope of practice. Yes. So it's not a job description, although these are things that could describe what you do. It could be your job. It might be your duties, but best answer, scope of practice. Wonderful. Next question. How long will a licensed massage therapist wash their hands when using sanitary hand washing techniques? How long? Is it A, 1 minute, 1 minute or more? B, 30 seconds? C, at least 20 seconds? Or D, one verse of Happy Birthday? How long will a licensed massage therapist wash their hands? Let's get rid of one wrong answer. It's not just one verse of Happy Birthday. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's see what we're seeing. How long does the CDC say we need to wash our hands for it to be sanitary hand washing? Jennifer chimes in. Hello. Yes. Robin, John, Robert. You got it. Best answer. At least 20 seconds. So, yes, 1 minute. Yes, 30 seconds, but at least 20 seconds. That is the best answer. Next question. Proper body mechanics avoids injury. What phrase describes proper body mechanics technique? A. Make sure your table is set a little low in case your client is tall. So we're looking for the phrase that best describes proper body mechanics. B, bend at the knees. Put all the weight on your front foot. C, stand with feet shoulder width apart and parallel to each other. D, drop your shoulders, stack joints, and avoid hyperextension of the wrist. Let's get rid of one wrong answer. Or not. Looks like I didn't eliminate an answer on this one. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. What best describes? Catherine and Rob chiming in. Our best answer, what looks like proper body mechanics? Boom. Drop your shoulders, stack your joints, and avoid hyperextension of the wrist. Nice. And I'll put that link to the video in our description if you want to watch it again. Next question. An independent contractor has additional responsibilities. One of those responsibilities is blank. A, personally responsible to send state and IRS earnings to establish how much tax liability is owed to the state and federal entities. Let me just look at that one again. Personally responsible to send state and IRS earnings. Okay. B, personally responsible to pay Social Security tax and Medicare. C, always itemizes deductions for maximum tax advantage. And D, record and track mileage when seeing clients at their home. Hmm. Okay, let's get rid of one wrong answer. You don't always itemize. Sometimes the standard deductions are enough. Now be careful because these are worded very closely. So, is an independent contractor personally responsible to send state and IRS earnings? Let me put a the in there. Personally responsible to send the state and the IRS earnings to establish how much tax liability is owed to the state and federal entities. Or is an independent contractor personally responsible to pay Social Security and tax and Medicare? Okay, three, two, one, go. Were you second guessing yourself? Stick with your first answer. It's going to be right. Okay. The best answer. Boom. Personally responsible to pay Social Security and tax and Medicare taxes. So, why is that so? Letter A is the employer. Letter A is the person who has contracted you. If you are an independent contractor, the person who contracted you is personally responsible to send state and IRS earnings to establish how much you owe. An independent contractor is personally responsible to pay their Social Security and their Medicare. All right. Next question. As soon as you receive your license to practice massage therapy, you are automatically a what? A, an employee. B, an independent contractor. C, a limited liability company. Or D, a sole proprietor. Let's get rid of one wrong answer. We know it's not an employee because you got to go find a job. Three, two, one, go. As soon as you receive your license, you're automatically gathering good. Rob, yes. Excellent. Best answer, sole proprietor. Yes. You could be an independent contractor, you could be an employee, but that involves another person, right? It involves another person hiring you, but you're immediately a sole proprietor. Acting in the best interest of a client, of your client, is called a blank. Acting in the best interest of your client is called a blank. A fiduciary responsibility. B, the code of ethics. C, professionalism. D, the Hippocratic Oath. Okay, let's eliminate one wrong answer. We can get rid of, boom, D. The Hippocratic Oath is first do no harm. So we know that's not it. Three, two, one, go. Acting in the best interest of your client is called what? Very good. John Robert, you nailed it. Best interest of your client is your fiduciary responsibility. Yes, it's following the code of ethics. Yes, it's professional. But it's your fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of your clients. Ooh, one more. Next question. In supine position, what is the best practice when draping a client to work the right leg? Okay, now here's the good thing about long answers. We look for similarities and look at A through D, all say move the blanket. They all say tuck in the sheet. Now let's see what else they say. A, tuck in the sheet at the hip above the iliac crest. Tuck the sheet medial to the knee. Slightly lift the leg to secure the drape if necessary. Sounds pretty reasonable. B, move the blanket, tuck the sheet at the hip below the iliac crest. Tuck the sheet lateral to the knee. Slightly lift the leg to secure the drape if necessary. Okay, so medial, lateral, those are the differences there. Move the blanket, tuck in the sheet close to the ASIS. Place the arm over the sheet. Tuck the sheet medial to the knee. Slightly lift the leg to secure the drape if necessary. Make sure no gluteal cleft is exposed. Okay. D, move the blanket, tuck in the sheet under the arm. Secure the sheet by palms down, tucking under the trunk if necessary. Slightly lift the leg to secure the drape. Okay, these things are all over the place, right? We're talking about a leg. So let's get rid of one wrong answer. Tuck the sheet under the arms. Under the hands, maybe, but we can get rid of letter D, I think. Yeah, let's get rid of letter D. Okay, now, when this person is in supine position, is that face up or face down? Supine position. What's the best practice? When draping a client to work the right leg. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. So above the iliac crest, medial to the knee, lateral to the knee. Okay, there's a big difference in here. Okay, let's take a peek. John Robert, Catherine, boom. Best answer, A. Very good, you guys. Very good. You were not thrown off. You don't want to tuck lateral to the knee, right? We're draping the right leg, we're tucking it in medial to the knee. Good. And yes, we're going to make sure no gluteal cleft is exposed, but we're not at the ASIS. Putting the arm over the sheet, we really can't do that. Yeah. Good. All right. Believe this is the final question. What do conservative doctors recommend or prescribe to treat a viral infection? Antibiotics, B, penicillin, C, rest and stay hydrated, D, antiviral medication. What do conservative doctors recommend to treat a viral infection? Well, we know it's not antibiotics because we just learned that, right? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. What do conservative doctors recommend or prescribe to tell their clients to treat a viral infection? Catherine, nailed it. Yep. Catherine, good. Best answer. Rest and stay hydrated. Yes, antiviral medication, possibly. And I will give you credit for that because I don't know if antiviral medication exists. I kind of just made it up. So you get credit if you said D, but most conservative doctors will recommend rest and stay hydrated. Yes. Types of blank could spread in a massage practice. These are staph infection and strep throat. Types of blank could be spread in a massage practice. Staph infection, strep throat. Let's get rid of one wrong answer. Disease is a long-term more situation. So are staph infection and strep throat a fungus, a bacteria, or a virus? 3, 2, 1, go. Does Catherine work in healthcare? Because yes, the best answer is boom, bacteria. Staph infection and strep throat are types of bacteria, and are treated with antibiotics. Good. Good, Rob. Excellent. Next question. Oh, we are done. Yay. Well, this was kind of a long one, right? Good job. Thanks for hanging in there during some pretty crazy uh, stuff that we've covered. And let's go ahead and wrap up the recording. I will remind you, my name is Jodi Scholes. I am your instructor for the MBLEx review course for you massage graduates preparing to pass that MBLEx. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for watching if you're watching later, and we'll see you again next week.